Welcome to Necessi-Tea. I'm Lindsay Jackson.
And I'm Marguerite Pierce. Today, we're going to discuss an article that was published for Zora, and the title is You're Allowed to Grieve the Year That Would Have Been. And this was published just a few weeks ago on March 30th. So we're going to kind of dive into a lot of great points that were highlighted in this article.
Yeah, and I think we can just go ahead and get started with one of the quotes from this article. There were so many quotables, but the first one is really about us moving away from the hierarchy of loss. A licensed therapist and a motivational speaker named Thelma Bryan Davis talks about how we need to move away from the hierarchy of loss. That myth that we should hold someone else's suffering as greater than ours, which prevents us from honoring our own emotions as valid, right? And that in itself is extremely powerful. I think of people I know who are affected by this pandemic a lot harder than I'm being affected. And I find myself saying, you know what? My situation is not that bad. Oh, I need to hurry up and just get over this because somebody just lost a family member or someone's not getting paid.
Right.
You know?
Right. Right. And I think it's, we always think about having it worse, right? That somebody, no matter how crazy or how hurt or how disappointed our situation could be, we always try to put it in perspective and say, oh, well, there's somebody that has it worse than me, and try to make ourselves, feel better and not really give space
Feel.
or honor, right, the disappointment or the emotions that we're feeling, right? We're just saying, oh, no, I shouldn't feel this, and find a way to hurry up and get over it.
Yeah, and it makes me also think that we're in this society of comparison. And so we'll
Yes.
even compare not just our gains, which is a very common, right?
Right.
Comparison is where it's like, oh, this person's successful. Well, I got an award for mine, right?
Yeah.
But then there's now where we're comparing our losses, and it's like, wait, hold on. That loss was pretty big for them. Let me put my little loss aside. I
So,
shouldn't really talk about mine
right.
because they're dealing with something that's way bigger. And I think that every loss is equal, right? It's not one loss is greater, bigger,
Right.
smaller than the other. It is a loss, and it's for the perspective of that individual who's experiencing that loss,
Right.
right?
Right. And I think, right after that, like they go into talking about like resilience, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a wellness expert that was quoted here, Debbie Brown, and pretty much saying, look, none of us have to go directly into resilience. If you are
Mm-hmm.
feeling disappointed, confused, or scared, it's important to speak those feelings so that they can be processed and dissolved. So there's no need to bury it deep in your belly or try to stuff it in your
Mm-hmm.
pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's life is different. Everybody's experience is different. So, if you're disappointed that you can't do your morning drive to work, go ahead, like feel that disappointment and kind of let it pass, so you can resolve it, so it can be
Exactly.
processed.
Right. And again, it's about rushing through our emotions, rushing through our feelings. We're encouraged not to spend too much time being down, don't spend too much time being disappointed. And that sometimes leaves us not feeling it at all. And then we
Right.
try to, maybe numb ourselves, distract ourselves from experiencing the feeling. And guess what? Those feelings are going to come out in our behaviors anyway. So even if you're not talking about it, trust me, you are acting it out. You're just not aware of it.
Right. Yeah, because I think it's interesting, how the messaging on social media like has changed, right? There's just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these, oh, be positive, be positive. Oh, you should be able to do this, learn some new skill, get a six pack, like do all these things with the, and I'm going to do air quotes, extra time
Extra time.
that we
Mm-hmm.
have, right? And it's just like, it's not that black and white, because this is not normal circumstance.
Right. And man, we've never been in these circumstances, but it's true. I think of this post that was going around on social media like, if you don't come out of this pandemic with a new skill, a side hustle, and money saved up, then you wasted your time.
Right, or a book,
Excuse
or a
me?
book, like write a whole book, like
Yeah, don't judge me. I'm going to experience this the way that I need to experience it. I might sit on my behind a couple of days. I was talking to my mother recently, and I said,
yeah,
"What did you get done today?" And she says, "Nothing." I said, "That's okay." She says, "No, it's the third day of nothing." I said, "Ma, one, you're retired.
right,
Two, who coming over? Three, it is okay to get nothing done. Like, stop judging yourself about it."
right,
But we're trained to do that. You must be productive. You must be hustle and bustle. You must be chasing something.
yeah. But what I think what has like this past month is I'm sitting with a question, and it's what are the benefits to all of that, to the hustle and bustle, to the grind culture, to just going a mile a minute. What are the gains? What's in the
Mm.
pro column?
I think the only thing I could toss on over there is building like discipline and structure, right? But discipline, but that may not even be, because I think the hustle and bustle just provides stress,
Yeah,
anxiety. It leaves no room for pace and being intentional. You, yeah, you end up losing your focus, your mind,
yeah.
all of that.
And it really doesn't. And now that like you say that, and I'm thinking about it, like totally the commuting, dropping someone off to school, like a huge source of stress for me. And it doesn't really leave you with wiggle room for the unexpected. Like even the smallest thing that goes left or goes wrong, you can kind of make a mountain out of it, right? Because
Hmm.
you're so
There's no
used
room
to
for it.
this rigid, oh, it's got to be like this. And so you have these expectations around it. And the
Hmm.
minute that it goes off course, you're like,
Stress, right? Our
I,
stress increases.
yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pivot. I don't know how to adapt. And
Get
it's,
frazzled.
yeah, you
Yeah.
get
So
frazzled.
so true. It's so true. And I think that that's another piece of the article where they talk about kind of spending this time with yourself, right?
Hmm.
Getting to know yourself better. Nadia Lopez is referenced in this article as well,
Yep.
right? And really talking about how she was at home way before the pandemic due to some, medical issues that were non-COVID-19 related.
Right.
And she had a birthday coming up, and she was just really excited and used to having a big celebration for her birthday. But this pandemic provided an opportunity to experience herself
Right.
differently. And I think that that's what this time does. It says, what are the things that pull you? What are the things that push you outside of the demands of your work?
Yep.
What are the things that push you, get you out of your bed? What are the things that make you kind of, cringe a little bit? What are the things, what's your temperament when you're not being pulled in 100 different directions? That's what I think about.
Yeah. It's a whatever comes out of this, I think, yeah, the spending time with yourself and the
Mm-hmm.
introspection and the reflection of who you were before this and
Mm-hmm.
who you're going to be after.
Mm. And
Like,
that's a great question. I think we should all be encouraged to kind of journal about that. I think we all should be journaling about our experiences in COVID-19.
yeah, like that was a big part of, why I made the commitment to start journaling every day because I was just like, yo, this is this is a opportunity for transformation. And I
Mm-hmm.
just want to see, I want to be able to document how I'm feeling, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not putting any particular end goal on it. I'm
Right.
just curious to see the different emotions that show up for me on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis, right? Because this is completely uncharted territory. And some days I'm okay. Like I'm doing well with it and I can kind of act normally, right? As if this wasn't going on, as if we weren't in
Right.
the middle of a pandemic. But then other days I'm like, I wake up and I'm
Just,
like, oh, this is still happening? This is for
yeah.
real? Like, this is
Yeah.
for real.
For real, for real.
For real, for real. It's like you think about, the movies and like how sometimes there's this slow build up to things and you're like, "Oh, okay, this kind of feels like that. It feels like somebody wrote this
Mm-hmm.
out."
Mm-hmm. Wrote this terrible horror story.
Sorry, exactly.
But yet there's so many great things that can also come from this as well, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
And it varies, you know, for
Yeah,
each person.
it does. It really does. So I think, the author, and I'm not sure if I mentioned her name at the beginning, but her name is Candace Marie Benbow, and I think she just did a really good job of,
Mm-hmm.
putting together all the things that a lot of us were feeling, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe didn't didn't have the words or the order or to communicate as eloquently as she did, and bringing in the various wellness experts and motivational speakers to really dissect, like,
Mm-hmm.
how we should be processing our feelings around this.
Mm-hmm. And I think the key thing in what you're saying, though, is even that how we should be, and it's however you choose
Choose,
to.
right? No, yeah,
And the biggest thing is just that we are being socially responsible, right? So it's like, hey, you process this however you need to, but once you leave your house, just need you to be responsible so that
right.
other people are not being or suffer the consequences of your choices,
Of your
right? But
actions, yeah.
yeah, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Right. And this
mm-hmm,
is and this is I think, again, like, especially with our society, like, as Americans, we we just have a strong sense of individuality and personal freedoms, right? And
mm-hmm,
so this whole thing and the social distancing, and you're talking about the responsibility we each now have for one
mm-hmm,
another,
mm-hmm,
is in direct contrast to kind of what our normal life and our culture pretty much
mm-hmm,
has dictated up until this point. Is like, okay, well, you know what, you're not going to tell me when I'm going to wash my hands, and you're not going to tell me, where to stand, or not to go partying, or everything like that. Like, I just think about, the weekend before Cuomo made the stay at home, mandate order, where social distancing was strongly suggested and strongly encouraged, but yet you had
people
bars in
out there.
Harlem and
Mm-hmm.
all over the city, East Village, West Village, packed to capacity, as if nothing was going
What's
on.
going on? Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy in the very beginning to see how we were not being responsible. And I think it speaks to, our individuality and that mindset that it's like, hey, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do me, you do you, mind
Mm-hmm.
your business. But it's like, wait, at this point, your business is our business, is everybody's
Body's
business,
right, right,
everybody's business, and we're at the either the beginning of a decade, right, or we're ending it, right,
right,
depending on how you look at it. But it's 2020. I feel like it's just cleaning us out and getting us ready for 2021,
right,
and just saying, hey, this is the clean out year,
right,
and years after will be the year of growth and where we will flourish, right.
right. And then you can also look at it as, sometimes, like, people will say anecdotally, like, if you're dealing with a personal challenge, oh, maybe there's some lesson for you to learn in all of this, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll make those sayings and those comparisons. So maybe, like, this is an opportunity for us to really reevaluate how we've been living, just
Mm-hmm.
everything from A to Z, and find out where we can make some adjustments and
Improvements, yeah.
improvements, right? Because a lot of times, you know, it, we may not even question why we do things the way we do, right? And then even in the times where we do have the wherewithal to ask,
We
sometimes the
don't.
answer is, oh, well, this is just the
We've
way it
always
is. We've
been doing it
always been
this way.
doing it this way. We've
Mm-hmm.
always been doing it this way.
That's the trap right there, right? The vortex of familiarity. You just do it,
Right.
you just get sucked right into just doing it.
Right. Because nothing says it has to be this way. Nothing says that the majority of society needs to work 9 to 5 in a
At work
white
in an
in an
office,
office. Like
exactly.
what says that? What dictates that?
Well, we've learned now that half of the jobs that we
Yeah.
have, you could do that from home. You
Right.
know, now I must say for myself, I don't want to work from home. I would just rather have the flexibility to choose.
Who's right?
But my personality, I need to be out of my house because my home, I associate my home with relaxation, not getting,
Not
business done,
working.
you
Right.
know, not working. And so it's still taking a minute to kind of shift my mind and saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this room is now for
Work.
work,
Right. Right.
the work you're being paid for,
Right.
right? Not just whatever. Oh, I'm working on my website. Oh, we're gonna do this on a podcast. I got that space. That's
Sis.
cool.
Right.
But there's a different space. Your body can associate, spaces and people, with
Right.
yeah.
And how it shows up for whatever room you're entering, right?
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
think
for real.
the
For real.
other thing that is showing us is like, okay, well, the folks that have the essential jobs, mm, they're not being paid nearly enough.
Right, right. Because they are still at work every single day putting their lives on the line. They really are. Nurses and doctors, police officers, firefighters, I mean, they all really are out there putting themselves out there.
Right.
EMTs, they're sacrificing themselves for the greater good in a sense.
Exactly. And I think about like, the janitorial staff of the hospitals, of the
Yes. Oh my
supermarkets, the
God.
cashiers, the delivery people. These are jobs that, a lot of folks would,
Frown upon and downplay.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Exactly. But
Hmm.
but yet these are the people that we rely on, those who are privileged enough to work from home, that we are now relying on them to keep our way of life consistent and our
Yeah, yeah.
conveniences consistent.
And I think it raises the level of respect that we have for people who do that work. You know, you will begin to respect what they do a lot more. Hopefully, they will get paid a lot more beyond the pandemic. That
Yeah.
it won't be, hey, during this time you'll get all of this money, but when it's over, back to the low pay,
Pay.
right?
Yeah.
No,
No.
come on, right? So I'm hopeful that there will be an increase of respect, that there will be this unified responsibility that we have for one another as a
Yeah.
as a world. Because even how you say it gives us an opportunity to look at how we've been living our lives or how we've been showing up. It's been kind of effed up. It really has
It
been.
really, really.
We have not been living at the best. We've talked before about, how much it raises our awareness about our health. I mean, people who have never taken vitamins, they taking vitamins
Is
now.
now, right.
Look, my mother. I was like, Ma, you taking vitamins? Oh, I take vitamin D. Oh, that's it? That's all you got? Okay, let me hook you up. Let me get the
Right.
B12. Let me get the C.
C's in
Let's
there.
get all of that in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. To just to pay more attention to the things that weren't high on our priority list, right? For whatever reason, to just
Right.
now call some more attention to it and maybe move some things up just a couple of notches.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really do feel good about what's going to come out of this on the other side. I don't know when, right? But I
Right.
do feel good about us as people and our ability to be resilient,
Mm-hmm.
but our ability to really learn from these experiences and not be so hard-headed and thick-headed and narrow-minded about it. Let's really open up the avenue of perspective and
Mm-hmm.
allow each other in and
Yeah.
really respect it. Yeah, respect one another too.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because I think we're at the end of the day, we're all in this together. So we
That's the
can we
thing.
could we could do better and more
If
when
we
we
stay together.
unite.
But see, that's the problem when people not listening. If they could just work together, we could flatten this, right? We could hopefully come out of this sooner than later. But people are still misbehaving. People are still out there hanging out, block parties in front of their house. I've seen videos of people in Harlem having a COVID block party.
Like, no, this is no.
So ignorant. It's so selfish.
It is, and it's frustrating for the people that are trying their
Following the.
best to
Hmm.
follow the guidance, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
It's just like, okay, well, now you messing it up for everybody.
Everybody. It's like being in kindergarten now. One kid who didn't listen messed it up for everybody. Now we
Cost us
can't go out at
all
recess.
recess.
Right.
Exactly.
Now we can't go out at recess. Now we got to sit in the cafeteria because you wanted to play. Darn it.
Crazy.
It's
Crazy.
crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy.
I think I've also just, it's been a huge shift. It really has been just a huge shift in being able to wrap our mind around the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
And each of us have a different new normal.
Right.
I
Right.
think the thing that we share is the social distancing, which I would like to call physical
Yeah,
distancing,
physical
right?
distancing is more appropriate.
It is because when we say social distancing, it just encourages us to not be social with one another. Rather, physical distance, I can be, a safe distance away from you, but we still can kind of be together,
And connect
right?
and
And connect.
interact. Right. Right. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean, no connection or, no interaction. No, it's just keep your space.
Mm-hmm. 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 I'm hopeful we can, like I said, come out of this on the other side. Really,
Yeah.
really. So, my friend, she just had a birthday yesterday.
Okay.
And this is the friend who was supposed to go to Bali, right? So we were
Uh
supposed to go to
yeah.
Bali for her birthday,
Yes.
And so when I think about this article, right, and thinking of the year that could have been, that was supposed to be, that would have been, we were supposed to go to Bali. Like today was the day that we were going to arrive. We were going to be on the plane for like 24 hours, but we
Yeah.
were going to arrive
Today.
today. Today was the day. And so it was interesting to shift and figure out how can we still celebrate her birthday, how can we still have a good time with the physical distancing, with the whole stay at home mandate going on. How can we do it? So we got on the phone, we had some drinks, and that was a lot of fun. But you have to think of new ways to celebrate instead of saying, gosh darn it, my birthday is ruined. No,
Right.
you are here and you get to celebrate another birthday in itself. That deserves some sort of champagne popping, some sort of prayer celebration, collective Zoom call, something.
Something. Yeah.
Because you're here.
You're here. Right. Right. But at the same time, though, you got to allow the space for the disappointment that Bali didn't happen, right? In
Yeah,
order to get there, you got to recognize those
correct.
feelings of disappointment and then, figure out how you want to move forward and
Hmm.
just, be at the end of the day, be okay with just being.
Yeah. Practicing that acceptance, right? Just have to
Ooh,
accept.
that is coming in. That is, whew, if you needed a lesson on acceptance,
Hello. Okay, the universe said, I got something for you. Let me show
accept
you
this.
something. Exactly. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
you know and even talking about Bali and being able to have control. I was texting somebody about this Bali trip and how the Bali trip was moved, and I said, well, now I'm just living in this uncertainty. And the reality is we all in some way have been living in uncertainty. We just been
Already.
riding on the wave of like hope and faith and just saying, hey, well, it worked out yesterday, so it will work out today. But each day really is uncertain.
Yep. Yep. But again, because we were so ingrained with the hustle and bustle and the grind culture and all of this that the uncertainty like was like way down on the list. Like we probably recognized it and
Mm-hmm.
acknowledged that okay, yeah, if I walk out the door, I might not come back or things, like that. But
In your face. It
it
wasn't
wasn't in your
it
face.
wasn't in the front of your mind. It
No,
was not at all. And that was not like a main thought that you had when you went out. It was more or less, I'll go out and I'll,
I'll come
do
back.
that. Exactly. But again, uncertainty could be that you go outside and the train isn't there when you wanted it to be excuse me, your car doesn't start, which
Start.
has happened to me a couple of times. I need to replace my battery. Or, you thought that things were going to go a certain way. And I think this pandemic is also providing us with an opportunity to build our own skill set around the uncertainty,
Right.
right? Because when you deal with uncertainty and you don't have a lot of opportunities, you get frazzled, you get overwhelmed, you get angry, right? But we're starting to build some more familiarity with the uncertainty. So
Right.
it's like, hey, it didn't work out. That's okay. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let that sit, you
Let
know?
that sit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay. Was there another quote that we wanted to tackle? Let's see. Let's see. There were like folks find the article. We'll link to it in the show notes because I think it was just really a good read for
Mm-hmm.
me. Like it helped
Mm-hmm.
organize a lot of what I was feeling and
It
thinking.
kind of validated
Think
a lot that
that
I was feeling too, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, tons of validation. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think we touched on the main parts.
Mm-hmm. I think, one of the pieces in the article was about writing down your losses,
Yes, honoring
right?
your
Yeah.
losses.
So creating that space to honor the losses. So if I were to write that list, right, my loss would be that I'm not in Bali right now. My loss is that not being in the office in a workshop in a classroom doing training, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's that loss of that. There's that loss of familiarity and comfort that I had with being in a classroom and teaching and training. Now I have to try it on the other side and do webinars and such, right?
Right.
But writing down those losses really does allow us to honor
Mm-hmm.
them, process them, and allow us to move forward from them.
Yeah. No.
So I would challenge folks to, write down your losses, even if it's two, three, but
Right.
honor them, write them
Right.
down.
Give them
What is it that
space.
you're grieving right now? Grieve,
Right.
right?
Right. Allow yourself to grieve, and it's okay. Like it's okay. It's okay to grieve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's no way that we can just be like, oh, this happened. Oh, okay, now I'm, working from home and homeschooling and doing all of this, and I'm not used to this world, but that's okay.
Yeah, and
No.
it's like no, because like there are a lot of milestone moments, right, that are going to be missed. There's
Mm-hmm.
no graduation ceremonies.
Graduations,
There's no
proms.
prom, senior trip. This
Oh,
oh oh
I'm right. No, seriously, it's
like
crazy.
these things that people that have experienced them have stories to tell and photos and memories to share about whatever happened back in the day, and this so and so pulled this at graduation and it was awesome and all.
You don't have that. You don't have that. You don't have that. And there are some people who have been waiting for this child to graduate. Maybe the first child in their family,
Family.
first one in their generation to graduate.
Right. Right.
And though they may still graduate, that experience of sitting at a graduation and being in that crowd and clapping for them and taking all of them those photos and watching them receive their diploma, degree, whatever, you miss that, you
Right.
know?
And this highlights just how meaningful the ceremony and these rituals that we have are, right? To be able to connect with our loved ones and celebrate one
Mm-hmm.
another. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think this allows us to not take that kind of stuff for granted, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And not be like, "Oh, I got to go to another
I
birthday
gotta
party.
go.
I
Right.
got to go." Like, right. And
Come
just
on,
this sense
sis.
of
You get to go.
obligation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right. Right. It's just allowing you to think about it differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I think the other side of that is that yes, we kind of put a lot of emphasis on these ceremonies and these traditions, but I think there's opportunities to create new ones
right.
and saying, hey, now you're not able to walk across the stage, but we know you're graduating, right? We know that you've been promoted.
Right.
So let's put on that cap and gown,
Gown.
or let's create our
Take the
own
photos.
tradition, our own ceremony,
Yep.
whatever, right?
Yep.
You could do a graduation on a Zoom call. It's just being creative. So you've got to sit in it, process it, grieve it, and then be creative with how to deal with that loss,
Right.
right? And to come out of it.
Right. Right.
So, yes, listeners, we talked about honoring our losses. And what we want to do is create an opportunity for you to honor your losses in a creative way. We want to hear how you're honoring your losses in a creative way. That means that you might use music, a poem, a TikTok video, but think about the losses and then think about how you can honor them. Tag us. Use the hashtag Necessi-Tea. You can use our handle, that is NECESSIT podcast. We want to hear from you. Can't wait.
Yeah, and you guys won't be doing it alone because Lindsay and we're going to come up with a creative way to honor our losses as well. Because again, we're all in this together.
So thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.